The recent news has just come out of Alberta, where the Supreme Court of Canada basically just said Justin Trudeau and your woke liberal policies for trying to stop oil here in Canada is wrong, and this isn't communist China, and you can't do that. This is like the greatest news, the greatest thing since pretty much sliced bread. Canada is a powerhouse. Our tiny little population here in Canada with our really large amount of land, we have so much to provide, and we have the wrong business people leading our country. That's at the end of the day what a country is. It's a business. You can try and appeal to everyone's, pronouns and gender ideologies or how they feel this and that and feelisms or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's about running a business, making sure everyone's safe, making sure you're using your money and allocating your money and resources properly. And the Justin Trudeau Liberals have failed to do that. Welcome back to another video, everybody. This is going to be a great one. If you're pro-oil, if you're pro-Canada, you're going to love this video because it turns out that Canada actually has the potential to be one of the leading powerhouse countries by 2024, right around the corner in terms of oil. But before we get into it, I want to encourage you to give a big fat like, check to see if you're subscribed. If you're not, might as well hit that button and turn post notifications on because it helps fight climate change. We're all about climate change here. I'm just kidding. But it does make liberals cry at the end of the day. And if you want to support the channel as well as walk away with a sick ass sticker, I love Canadian oil and gas. Link for that is down in the description or the pinned comment below. Canada is a powerhouse country, folks. We have so much to do here. We have so many resources, and we can't use like a massive amount of our land here in Canada for living because it's uninhabitable. And it just seems like we have the wrong people running the show. Now, we're going to take a look at a series of different videos and different articles that I have pulled up, ready to go, that really explains, in case you're not in the know-how, of how the oil industry works here in Canada. So without further ado, we've got this video here from 2015. Let's take a quick look at it, and then we're going to get into more modern stuff.
Alberta is believed to be sitting atop 1.8 trillion barrels of oil, but the vast majority of it is so deep it can't be reached with today's technology, shrinking Canada's proven oil reserves to 168 billion barrels. Still, that's third largest in the world. Only Venezuela and Saudi Arabia are sitting on more black gold. So, with more than 90% of Canada's oil already written off, there are still barriers to getting at the rest. First is cost. To get a new oil sands operation up and running, a barrel of oil needs to be selling for about $100. Below that, it's not worth the money to start digging. And then there is location. Alberta is landlocked, so getting the oil to refineries and markets cost extra, about $10 a barrel more, further cutting into profits. And finally, time seems to be running out for crude. Saudi Arabia's powerful oil minister recently predicted the end of fossil fuels by 2040 or 2050 and said his country is starting to focus on developing solar power. G7 leaders, including Canada's Stephen Harper, recently pledged to decarbonize the global economy by the end of this century, meaning for one reason or another, it's quite likely a lot of the oil sands will stay in the ground.
So the whole decarbonize the industry, the Liberal government has shifted that up from the year 2100 now to the year 2030, which, in case you have lost track of what year it is, it's 2023. So we're right around the corner from the target goal of having no more oil production, no more fossil fuels, and it's kind of getting crazy. But the good news is that the military-industrial complex around the world will never, ever work off of solar power. They could definitely shift to nuclear power. I don't understand the logistics of that. But if they want to keep using tanks and armored vehicles and missiles and all of those things, you need oil. And if you want to transport everything to your location, you're not going to be using an electric vehicle as a means of transport or an electric boat. You need oil, you need oil, you need oil. So they're trying to make sure that all of us regular people are using low emission vehicles or means of transport or have a low carbon footprint. But the military industrial complex, the way that the entire world functions, it will be on oil for a very, very long time. And at the start of the video, you saw that Canada is sitting, in fact, on 1.8 trillion barrels of oil. And a lot of it is is too deep. So we are stuck with only 168 billion, which is still making us the third largest oil reserve in the world. Now, what would happen if Canada has the technology to dig deeper safely, economically, and can get those barrels of oil? How's that looking for the rest of the world? Well, the rest of the world is in a crazy state of chaos, right? With Russia's war in Ukraine, the Middle East fighting Israel, and America getting involved. So there's a real potential for the pendulum to go to the opposite direction, and for, all of their oil production to come to a screeching halt based off of their distractions with other conflicts that they're currently facing, where Canada isn't. And we're also very protected by America, which means that, we shouldn't just rely on America to protect us, but we should have our own defense system. But nonetheless, we're pretty safe here in terms of some sort of foreign country coming for an assault attack within Canada's borders. I have to talk about war, guys. It is wartime right now, so that's why I'm bringing up so many war references. So I apologize if you're disinterested in that, but that's just the reality of it. So if we're sitting on 1 trillion barrels of oil, if the rest of the production of the world slows down, Canada's sitting very, very good. And with the overturn of the Bill C-69, which basically stopped the pipeline production in Canada, stopped oil production in Canada, we're looking really good. The future is looking very prosperous. You have, True North commenting on this, saying the Supreme Court rules No More Pipelines Act largely unconstitutional. I did cover this in a previous video, but the article I want to focus on is this one right here by CBC. Canada could lead the world in oil production growth in 2024. Big boost in output could be the last hurrah for oil sands, says analysts. Canada's oil production is set to jump by 10% over the next year and become one of the largest sources of increased supply around the world. The country produces 4.8 million barrels per day of crude, and that figure could climb to about 500,000 barrels, climb by about 500,000 to 5.3 million by the end of 2024, according to S&P Global Commodity Insights. That would mark an all-time high for Canadian production. Alberta's oil sands is expected to drive much of the growth, although increases are anticipated throughout Western Canada and at offshore facilities near Newfoundland and Labrador. 500,000 is a lot. It's bigger than a lot of countries produce in the world. The sharp rise in oil output expected over the next 12 to 14 months is particularly the result of lower production this year due to lengthy maintenance requirements at some oil sand facilities. And we have maintenance that needs to be done. Other countries have maintenance that needs to be done. We don't have a war to tend to, and we don't have those distractions here in Canada. Other countries do, which is why I think that we can leapfrog other countries, especially if we find technology to be able to get dig deeper and safely and things like that. And with how fast technology is evolving, there's no doubt in my mind that as long as we maintain pro-oil governments and we don't just shut it down indefinitely, because that the liberals and just woke activists would love to shut it down indefinitely, sign some sort of bill that says you can't touch you can't dig for oil for the next 150 years in Canada, as per the king himself says. I don't know, some crazy ass, stupid woke shit rule that liberals love to sign so much. As long as we maintain a bit of a pro-oil government and enthusiasm and morale here in Canada, I think that we could be positioned really good to just skyrocket our GDP, skyrocket our economy. And if we get a grasp on, our gun program here in Canada, our mass immigration policies, our bail reform, I think Canada could really turn around a lot faster than what people think. I think people are under the impression that we're just screwed for the next 20 years. And that very well could be the instance. There's so many factors. All of the things I'm proposing right now are pretty much just if everything goes according to plan, best case scenario. Obviously, there's always speed bumps in the road, so we're going to have to wait and see how that turns out. But nonetheless, I want to keep reading this article because I just love the fact that CBC is just pro Canada's economy thriving. Like, this is awesome. I'm kind of giddy right now, if you haven't noticed. The country's oil production is forecast to hit an all-time high at the same time as the expanded Trans Mountain Pipeline begins pumping out more oil from Alberta to the West Coast. Yeah, man, I love it. Its expansion, which is in the final stages of construction, will boost the pipeline's capacity to 890,000 barrels per day from 300,000 barrels per day. It's a huge increase. Large oil sands companies are not ramping up their spending to pump more oil because of the ground, said Byrne, but rather finding ways to make their existing facilities more efficient at full capacity. Still, he cautions that this level of production growth will be short-lived and could flatline after 2024. And that's where I disagree, because we already know that we have more oil than almost anybody in the world. Just there's so much of it that's too deep, and we don't have the technology to access it. So as long as technology increases, as long as we put more money, reinvest more money into our oil production here in Canada, get the libs out, get the oil haters out, get them the hell out of politics, and just bring back politicians who are pro our country. I would love to see the streets lined with Canadian flags, lined with patriotism, kind of like how America has it, and see our economy booming, see everybody making more money than they ever have, more houses being built, more production. I would just love to see that. And I haven't been optimistic about it until the past couple days with the announcement of the pipeline bill. Justin Trudeau got deemed as unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. It really seems like these little moments are able to bring morale up a little bit, which is very much needed. Very, very much needed. And if you disagree, then please let me know down in the comments. But I'm on the optimism train here, 100%. So, the restart of the Terra Nova field off the coast of Newfoundland and Labrador could occur next year, although it has faced several delays. In 2024, Canada could be the largest source of growth in global crude oil production. The country's expected jump in oil output of about 500,000 barrels per day is higher than the 400,000 barrels per day projected growth in the U.S. Elsewhere, production increases could result in a growth of 400,000 barrels per day from Latin America in the following years. Canada's predicted growth over the next 2 years is expected to exceed the total amount added over the last 5 years, which is phenomenal. And it seems like we have the best projections out of any country in the world, which is exactly what Canada needs right now. This fall, the federal government intends to publish draft regulations to cap emissions from oil and gas production and then force them downward over time. The oil sands represents about 11% of Canada's total greenhouse gas emissions, while the rest of the oil industry and all of the natural gas industry accounts for 15%. Overall, total oil sand emissions were flat in 2022, even as production grew slightly, according to an August analysis by S&P. It just really sucks that our economy is so close to being where it needs to be. We're so close. We just need a few people out of power. We need a few of these gatekeepers gone, and we need some morale. We need Canadians to come together and say, look, we understand that a lot of people are under the impression that climate change is heating our world up and that we're all going to melt. They've been saying the same thing for 75 years. Naturally, the globe is heating up, like just naturally. Are Canadians adding to that? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Let's just say that they are. Producing oil here in Canada, we're not going to melt because of it. I'm not under the impression that we would. And there's a lot of professionals that would also say that that's just not going to happen. It's a way of taxing people. It's a way of taxing citizens. The government's been doing it for years. The iceberg's been melting since like the 50s. Okay. From a calendar year from 1999 to 2000, they thought the world was going to end. Okay. The governments have been spewing this stuff for many, many years. And there's no doubt in anyone's mind that the world isn't heating up. Of course it's heating up naturally. You look at statistically, it's been heating up. But you can change numbers or change background colors on the Weather Channel from green to doom and gloom red all you want. But you look at the numbers of summer heat, peak times in different parts of Canada, and it's been pretty consistent. Right. Sometimes it's a little harder than others, but I mean, there was 40 plus in the Okanagan, in the 1980s, and it's still 40 plus now. So apples and oranges, I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of incentives for the government to try and politicize, and turn this doom and gloom fear that we're all melting and the icebergs are melting into a way of getting more taxes, more money out of the citizens. And where's that money going? How is our taxes? How is the icebergs melting? How is us paying billions of dollars into taxes per year going to fix any of that? Well, it's not. It's supposed to decentivize us from driving gas and switching to electric, but we're sitting on a gold mine and we still have time, according to the Liberals, to use it. And it really pisses me off that Liberals are against oil, which is phenomenal news as to why the Supreme Court of Canada made the decision that it's unprecedented or unconstitutional, rather, for Justin Trudeau to have put in place that stop the pipeline bill. And as you saw from CBC themselves, folks, that was a CBC headline that Canada could lead the world in oil production growth in 2024. That is mainstream government-funded media. Can't even deny the fact that, hey, we're sitting on gold. Let's use it, dummies. Let's get ahead of other countries around the world, get some cash in our pockets, and become a bit more of a powerhouse, because to be honest, Canada's not a powerhouse and we're becoming irrelevant. And if it weren't for all of the major controversies that our government has done, our Liberal government has done over the past, I don't want to say few years, but even few weeks, Canada would be completely irrelevant. It wouldn't be in anybody's mouths or anybody's headlines. So it's either continue the controversies, which nobody wants, or grow an economy and do it properly, which is pretty much what everyone with common sense would be on board with. So I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. That's where I'm going to end it. Just one final reminder that if you are pro oil, and if you want to support the channel by any means, then you can get your I Love Canadian Oil and gas sticker down below in the comments or in the description below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.